tardes, wherever you are watching this from in the world, and welcome to another rendition of Lucha, your CMLL review show here on the BC Wrestle Pod network conglomeration syndicate thing that we do pretty much every day of the week at this point. We are a jack of all trades, master of none, but a master of one, and that is talking about wrestling. Of course, I am one of your hosts, Mikey, also known as El Jefe. And joining me this evening, of course, is Papa Oso himself, Will, who I'm happy to have here. And tonight is a very special episode because we are going to be reviewing the 92nd Aniversario show that took place this past Friday, which we also did a live watch along for, and it was a lot of fun. So I can't wait. Of course, we are missing El. He decided that he wanted one more week before returning full time. So I granted him his extra staycation, if you will. So he will be back next week, and I'm super excited to have him. But of course, we also have our homie to the channel, friend, everything. Agent Lo-Fi is in the chat as well. So I can't wait to have his thoughts about this show because we had a great time watching this whole entire thing last week, and now we are here to review it. Of course, I am a little bit under the weather, but you know what? We are here, and we're going to have a great time, and my voice is extra sexy tonight. No, just kidding. No, but I'm excited. But before we get into our review for 92nd, the announcements, as we always do here. If you like what you see on your screen, even if you don't, that's okay. We love you anyways. And we really would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube or follow us on Twitch or Kick, whatever your preferred video viewing platform is these days. But we also understand that full-length reviews may not be your vibe. But if you still want to interact with our little community without having to, commit to sitting through weekly reviews on YouTube, then interact with us through our social medias. We are at BC WrestlePod on pretty much every social media site. And our social medias is also where you can get previews of all the shows for, the weeklies on the TVs. We do our report cards for the weekly TV shows and the pay-per-view. Lord have mercy, there were 4 pay-per-views this past weekend. And guess what? I watched them all and went to an actual live wrestling show all in one weekend. People say I'm mad. But hey, everybody has a couple screws loose, and us wrestling fans do have to have a certain level of insanity for the things that we love. But if you are a little bit shy and you're like, hey, I want to support you guys, but the internet is kind of weird and I don't want to do that. Say, if you want to support us financially, there are 2 ways that you can go about doing that. The first and probably the funnest one is because if you could support us financially, you also get something in return in the form of merch. So we do have a merch store. We are at bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com, where we have merch for pretty much all our review teams and everything that we do. We also have our fall collection. We have our Pride collection. We even have our Latino Heritage Month collection. And dropping next week, I'm so excited. We have our 2 shirts specifically for spooky season. So the Halloween collection is coming out, y'all. And with everything that we do, we also have charity tie-in. So part of the proceeds for these new designs are part of those proceeds will be donated. So for our fall collection, we're donating to No Kid Hungry. Latino Heritage Month, we're donating to 2 organizations to help to preserve the, painted and digital and actual arts of Latino culture and artists from around the world. Super important. And then stay tuned next week because we're also pairing with some Halloween specific charities for October. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can find the link to our merch, link in the description or in the chat on the various sites that we are streaming to. And if you just want to drop a tip in our jar, if you will, we do have a Ko-fi. I've heard people say it twice, but we have that going on. So that little bot will be popping in ever so often during the review where you can donate $5 and help us pay for pay-per-views. It helps keep the lights on, metaphorically speaking, here at BC WrestlePod. All right, now that I got that announcement out of the way, let's talk about why we're really here, y'all, which is 92nd Aniversario. And my God, I watched a lot of wrestling this past weekend. And it's crazy to me that this was probably my favorite thing I watched all weekend. And that's to say that there was only one thing that was kind of doo-doo this weekend, but everything else was really solid. But yeah, Aniversario was one hell of a way to start the weekend. I had such a blast with this. We had such a blast watching it. And we're going to get into a bunch of the stuff, but I had a great time with it. And so let's just jump straight into all the goodness. So we kicked off for CMLL with our Women's Tag Team Championship match. I'm going to be saying this for every single match, but these outfits that everybody was wearing, I was like, ooh, the ring gear was on point, y'all. Like everyone showed up and showed out. I was just like, y'all, I need some fashion designer to have a fashion runway here in Arena Mexico because everybody's outfits were on point. This ring gear was so good, y'all. But we started off with our women's tag team championship match. Of course, the champions in La Jarochita defending their titles, coming dressed in all red, taking on the all white ensemble of Persephone and Reina Isis to win. However, I will be okay because they are going to continue to dominate. And also during the watch along, it was fun watching Papa Oso lose the gasket a little bit. Listen, Papa Oso is probably the most even keeled person on this whole entire panel. He is the one that keeps me sane and keeps me calm when I get too crazy. But watching him get so invested into this, I was like, yes, I'm corrupting them with my wrestling. But damn it, I did want Reina to win so bad. But my God, this is such a fun match. And you know what? I really appreciated Juvia and La Jarochita kind of playing into it. It's just like, oh, be mad. I was like, cry about it. When they won, I was just like, oh, girls, I love this. Let's continue with this. But this was a really solid match. This was really fun. I do feel that it got off to a little bit of a weird start because, you know, a lot of these matches were cut short for time because of what we would get later in the evening. But even still, I had a blast watching this one. Of course, our champions retained, so La Jarochita are still your tag team champs. Papa Oso, what did you think of this match opening up?
I thought it kept us it kept me engaged anyway, obviously, because I was losing my shit over my girl not winning. That's okay. But, you know, Lluvia, La Jarochita, well done, girls. Well done. Reina Isis, y'all come back and whoop their asses later. You know, it was great. I love it. I love all four of these Amazonas. I think they showed up, showed out. And I have to agree with Agent Lo-Fi. I think it should have been longer. I wanted it to be longer. You know, of course, anytime the Amazonas are fighting, it felt a little rushed to me at points. But no, this match was it was on point. It was, and of course, all of their ring gear was amazing.
Sorry, we love you, Papa Oso. Oh yeah, I forgot. It made Oso mad. 5-star match. LOL.
Absolutely was. No, I totally agree. I do. I wish it had been a little longer, and it did. Yeah, it felt rushed at points. But other than that, bring it on. I'd watch this match again.
Oh, 100%. And honestly, well, okay, I would say I could watch every match on this card again, but one match in particular, I'd be like, well, I could still watch it, but I'll still probably be like, okay. But this was a really fun way to open up, you know, and we go from one tag team championship match to another because coming up second on the card was for our men's tag team championship. So, of course, this was the champions, Hermanos Chavez, so and taking on the Villanos and Junior. I kind of copy and paste what I said about the women's match to this one too. I had a great time with this. However, and this was something that we discussed a little bit and Agent Lo-Fi brought up during the watch along too. This felt a lot slower than I was used to, especially from, you know, Angel and, you know, Roja. Like those two are usually pretty good, but I felt like that we were at a slower pace for this match. I still had a great time, but man, and me and JBL talked about this during our All Out Toronto review. I was just like, y'all gave me this, we were spamming finishers, which, you know, it's Lucha Libre. So, of course, but I was like, we set up the brothers, Manos Chavez set up their finisher like twice or three times, if I remember correctly. I'm like, all right, guys, one of them has to connect. Like, we can't keep spamming finishers like it's 2K25. Like, this is getting out of hand. I still enjoyed the match, but I do agree, kind of copy and paste the timing, and also really weird to see the, you know, Los Hermanos Chavez, and the pacing of the match was kind of weird, not gonna lie. I still had a fun time with this. And of course, Los Hermanos Chavez did retain the championships. Papa Oso, what did you think of this tag team championship match?
I ditto everything you said. I think that I think this match could have been a little shorter, and the Amazonas could have been a little longer, I think. Because I don't know, and I agree. I think it was more weird in this one than it was in the Amazon. I mean, I wasn't really sure. I'm not really sure why the pacing was weird in this one. It felt almost like hesitant. a little bit. That's probably not the right word, but I mean, just it felt a little like I don't know the word I want to use, but it felt a little like, oh God, I don't even know how, like sort of here I'm on my mark, let's go, like a little too structured almost at
Right.
times, and
It's like NQ1 and
yeah,
Q.
as opposed to the, it's like, no, pick it up. Come on. It's like you don't have to count to two and then do your thing. It's literally just keep going. But yeah, I agree. I think the pacing on this one for me felt a little slower than the Amazonas. I still enjoyed this match. I thought this match was great. These four were rocking the house. I was glad that and Niebla Roja retained because I just love those guys. But I thought the match, however, continued the energy of the night. I did not feel like I was
100%.
pulled out of it or my energy lowered at all.
Right. So, of course, and then Agent Lo-Fi coming in and kind of, echoing our sentiments when it comes to all of this as well. Once again, the pacing was weird with the time they got with this match. Otherwise, good work from both teams, and I have to agree. I actually really like this, and you know what? With more time, I would like to see them run it back again. But moving on from this, so of course, we're going to focus on the matches because this is a long show. At this point, this is where we got, the in-ring again, where CMLL is being recognized and got the Hecho in Mexico, stamp from the government. Really fun. But now let's get into the good stuff because from this point onwards, not to say the first two matches, but this was definitely be like, all right, let's step it up. And now we're going to kick this thing off into high gear. But oh my God. So we get a levels, so idols, whatever you want. But this was a really fun match. Of course, on one side, we have the team of Atlantis Jr., Neon, and on the other side, we had Hechicero Volador Jr., who is, rocking the facial hair again and is now the Dark Universe. Is great. And then, of course, Zando Khan Jr., these six, I was just like, oh, we in for a good time and for a good this match, all gas, no brakes. Like as soon as it started, it was just go, go, go. Holy crap. This match was awesome. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Mascara and Hechicero in a little bit here too. But hot damn, this match was so good. Everybody was doing their parts. We got all the hits in from everyone. But ultimately, it was Mascara Dorada, Neon, and Atlantis Jr. who would pick up the victory here. And this was such a really good all-star match. Ooh, Agent Lo-Fi. We're going to talk about that at the end because I'm going to go scouring the internet when I get to the end of the show, especially if they're announcing the full women's lineup for the Grand Prix. Let's go. Anyways, though, this was such a good all-star match. Everybody, oh my gosh, this was so much fun. I would watch it again and again and again. Papa Oso, what did you think?
This is one of those matches where if you want to get people into Lucha Libre, show them this one. It was so good. And I agree. Zandokan Jr. was on fire. Of course, Volador Jr. was looking all sexy with his facial hair, and which he really needs to hang on to. But no, I thought this was a great match. I would show this match to someone who I'd want to get into Lucha Libre for sure.
I just saw it too. No, not Zan Jr. Listen, we can't have both Pirate Boy and Clown Boy be out at the same time. Listen, Donald Jr., if you are listening, we need you to come back right now. It's like we can't have our Clown Boy and the Pirate Boy be missing at the same time. Anyways, but you know what? I'm going to miss Sandokan while he's healing from injury, but this was an all-star match that I loved. And again, I agree with you, Papa. Also, if you want to introduce someone to Lucha Libre or CMLL in general, this is a good match to show them. This was solid. This was amazing. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then the hits kept on going too, because I was like, ooh, this one was great as well. This was the finals of the Copa. So this is, Galima, which is Barbosa and Difunto, who shout out to the Painted Nails. We love a queen in this household. We love our undead queen. Taking on, of course, the amazing tag team of
It was like Baby Daddy got it. He deserved
for reals.
No, but I agree with you. Anytime these two men are in this ring, man, fire. Just burn the place up. I'm just like seriously, just the power, the experience, the charisma, They have it all, and it's just amazing. And that's true. I agree. I don't know why the audience was being weird during this, but I don't. Yeah, it was really weird. But the match was amazingly good.
This was so good. And you know what? I kind of had to agree with Agent Lo-Fi too. This was really good, but the crowd, for whatever reason, couldn't get into it. I was a little bummed on that. I was like,
I was just like, what is happening with the audience? I don't know. Maybe, who knows? But I thought that was odd too. That the arena wasn't as, I don't know, they weren't as alive during this match.
right.
But this match was on fire. Maybe they were all in awe.
I was like, all right, guys. Hopefully that you come alive for the rest of this match. But yeah, Titan and Templario are your 2025 Copa Independencia winners. Really fun match, really solid. This was fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about this one, right? So at first, I was kind of mad at how it ended. But you know what? Dem's the rules. And you know what? Now looking at it, because somebody in this match got hurt and they had to be replaced later in the week. So I was like, I wonder if this match ended the way they did because somebody got hurt. Anyways, but we have our next match, which is, Rey Bucanero and taking on each other in a caballera versus caballera. It was. Agent Lo-Fi, you're stealing, the thoughts, but I 100% agree with you. And that's the direction I was going. That this match, it was what it was. That's all we got to say about it. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. So this is a hair versus hair match. These are guys who are way past their prime, but have been in this business forever. But I respect the hell out of them. But of course, we got a double DQ due to double dick kick city, which is, the cause of lots of DQs in wrestling nowadays with the dick kick city. But yeah, I was just like, at first I was like, this is how it ends. Okay, that kind of, is, but they ended up both getting their hair cut off, which, by the way, I was like, y'all need to get some actual scissors that work next time, because y'all were taking too long. Just get the razor blades. Like, come on now.
Yeah, this match was disappointing. I hate that it was disappointing, because this was actually my first hair versus hair match. And I was like, oh.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. There's nothing more to say about this. This was the only match I was like, it's probably not my favorite. But hey, they both cut their hair. So I was just like, all right, we figure. Also, though, I do want El Felino's shirt with those painted on abs. They are still great. It's still fun to watch. Love that shirt. So, but we got to move on, though. Oh, my. Okay. So, listen, Linda, listen, right? So, this was, of course, so let me set the stage. So, this is mask versus title for the CMLL middleweight, if you want to call it, championship. And Mystico's mask was on the line versus MJF's, the title that he was holding. Oh my God, this match was amazing. This was a crazy match. The action was great. MJF plays the perfect villain for this scenario. Mystico bleeding buckets, Templario being in the corner, Abraham Lincoln John Cruz out here looking like, I can't articulate in coherent sentences of how amazing this match was. If the all-star match, I definitely want to show them. But if you want to be like, why are you so passionate about Lucha Libre? I'll be like, this right here is the match. I'll be like, this is why I love what I do. Professional wrestling is magical. I had such a freaking blast with this one. Papa Oso, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts of this, but what did you think of this match between Mystico and AEW's MJF?
I thought it was amazing. It was an amazing match. It was gross, but it was amazing. I want, because at first I was like, oh wow, that's some really well placed blood squibs. I was thinking, oh yeah, that's great. It's just I'm conflicted. I'm thinking someone should probably call a medic, but then I really want him to whoop MJF's ass, and which he did, and which was fantastic. But yeah, the bleeding was extremely, I was very worried for me. And I know, and for, before anyone out there in the medical world comes at me, I know that cuts on face bleed more so than cuts in other places. But still, I mean,
right.
And it was everywhere.
It was crazy. And, Agent Lo-Fi informed us that usually CMLL and Arena Mexico are not about the blood. But because of this match, Agent Lo-Fi coming in with this thought right here, which I kind of like. I didn't think of it live, but the tell that blood was allowed, that there was no paramedics that came down. We have seen it before where some people where we've gotten the few blood hands, when Takeshita and Angel were going at it and his hand was bleeding. They're like, okay, medics come down, wrap the hand up, stop the bleeding, all that good stuff afterwards. But like, yeah, Mistico was bleeding buckets. I was just like, oh my.
I mean, it was pouring out of his mask, and he would like reach in to like because it was getting in his eyes, and he would reach in and just splatters. I was just like, how much blood did this man lose in this match?
Right. And then, of course, the running joke that we have here is like, dude, you sneeze wrong and you'll get stretchered out normally. LOL.
That's fair. I have noticed that actually. It's like,
That is hilarious.
I stubbed my toe. Oh no, medic! Yeah,
Wrap you up like a mummy is
I
crazy out
know
here.
it's so weird. I mean,
So
to the point where Noriega, he got blood all over him, and he had to change his clothes.
that is also very true because I was like, for the next match onwards, I was like, you changed your whole outfit. And now, like,
So I mean, it was literally everywhere.
Like, shout out, they tried their best to clean that up, but at the end of it would be Mystico who was triumphant. He gets to keep his mask. He is the new CMLL middleweight champion. And I have to give props to MJF because he had this match, and then the following day at the AEW pay-per-view, he had a tables and thumbtacks match. That both people were covered in thumbtacks by the end of that match. It was nuts.
That's crazy.
But holy crap, this was crazy. And you know what? I love this reaction, Angel Lo-Fi. Just know we won't see this for a long, long time. And I was like, this is only we've only been covering CMLL for a year at this point, a little bit over a year. And the fact that we got to see all this blood, I was just like, we came at the greatest time right now.
This is the match with the most blood in it. I mean, because we've seen some matches with blood, but this is probably the one where it literally looks like they slaughtered somebody in the ring. I mean,
by the end of this match, it looked like Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy Krueger, and then like
picnic, man.
Pinhead all had like this was a triple threat where everybody was teamed up with somebody they hated. Like they were teamed up with an enemy of some sort, people that they have beef with. This was crazy. But the losers or the winners, I guess if you want to call it, the last team standing would then go into a final suicida where it would either become hair versus hair or mask versus mask, depending on who it was. So we started out with the three. This was crazy. I was just like, what is happening? Everybody was fighting. Badmuro Cavanati and Dragon Jr. were out here trying to kick all the butts, but ultimately they would be eliminated first, and then they were fighting all the way back up. And then on top of that, we had Ultimo Guerrero be eliminated next. And then we got down to the finals in which it became mask for mask. Oh my God, these two threw down. It was nuts. This was crazy. No, I 100% agree. That's where I was going. As much by the end of it, as Fiendham wins is demasked. This was a really good match, but to be completely honest, last year's quadrangle mask for mask match was nuts.
Like, good Lord. But no, they held their own. I thought they did pretty darn well considering. And it was a great match. It was Barbara absolutely just cracks me up. And I thought it was so neat when Valiente were the two left. I was like, oh, this is great.
For real.
And it was so good. And it got me a little choked up as well. Not as much, but like when Euphoria lost his mask. But it was still very like personal, you know, and it's just like, I mean, I had a little bit of water in my eyes. It's like
we almost got tears on the stream. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those like, wow, you know, it's I don't, you know, even I can't fully understand it, but you know, but just the thought of you know the idea of stripping away that identity and it's gone, you know, it's like something you've lived in for so long and then suddenly it's gone.
Oh, for sure.
I can't fathom that. I just can't. It's so, but to watch it, it's just like, I can't even imagine the emotions going through, you know, El Valiente when he was talking before he started taking the mask. Because even there was that point where he was like, yeah, let's just get it off. And he started and then he stopped. And I was just like, oh God. So it's like mad respect. I mean, it gets me all emotional talking about it. And just that idea that you literally have created this persona that you've carried for years, you know, if not a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly you have to strip it off. And it's a little scary to me, actually. It's a little terrifying. And it just every time it happens, I get so emotional. I think, you know, And again, I'm like the whitest man in the room. And I have such a deep respect for a culture that truly respects tradition, like above all else. Like tradition is this is the way it's always been done. You know, we build these things, we create these things, they stick with us for sometimes a lifetime, you know, or whatever. And then the respect in the room, you know, even when Esfinge was like there and he was like, he took the mask. I mean, it was a respect in the room. It was beautiful. I mean, it's heartbreaking and yet beautiful all at the same time. So every time it happens, I'll probably talk for hours. So I'm sorry.
There's no need to apologize. And honestly, I feel like that's what makes our team here for CMLL very unique. Because, of course, you know, I am still learning the ins and outs of Lucha Libre. I know a little bit because of my grandmother when she was alive and the stories she would tell me all the time. And then, of course, you know, you have like Agent Lo-Fi who watches all the things and is our encyclopedia. You have Adolfo who, you know, both of them are in the more in the know and stuff like that. And then there's you. You know, when we brought you on, this was completely new to you, and now you're just like you are in for life like the rest of us. And honestly, I think that's what wrestling in general, I feel like needs to be, but specifically for Lucha Libre and any international wrestling, because I can say the same thing. Like since we started, you know, including the international brands this year for BC WrestlePod, it has really opened my eyes and has given me a sense of respect for all the cultures and the different styles of wrestling that are around the world. You know, we got Lucha Libre here in Mexico. We have catch style wrestling in the UK. We have the hard hitting of strong style in, you know, New Japan and Stardom. Like, and then that's not even mentioning all the smaller brands. Like we have like France, Germany, all these other smaller promotions in these countries around the world. We even have like a wrestling league in South Africa and Ghana and all that stuff too, which is crazy to watch. But wrestling, I think, especially around the world, has opened my eyes to get a better appreciation for these cultures and a deep sense of respect. And specifically for CMLL, I've always been proud of my heritage and my culture, but watching Lucha Libre and, you know, seeing all the aspects, and then not to mention we got the whole entire performance of like a floaty dance in the middle of the show too, which was very beautiful. And I cried a little bit because I was like, especially in 2025, I don't want to make anything political, but the world is crazy right now. And there are, you know, groups and marginalized individuals and groups that are being targeted, especially here in the States. But it makes me so damn proud to be Mexican. I'm really proud to be Mexican and Puerto Rican because it's things like this. I was just like, fuck the establishment. So that is my TED Talk. And the unmask of Valiente, and then Valiente sucker punches the shit out of Esfinge too. It just like knocks him down. I was like, hot damn, that was crazy. But that is how we go off the air for Aniversario. Holy crap. This was such a good show. And honestly, maybe outside of the hair versus hair match, I definitely would still show any of these matches to people who were like, so I want to watch a show to get me into CMLL. And I was like, here we go. Because I feel like this one is great. Because last year had some fun matches, but we don't talk about the Mystical and Chris Jericho match. We pretend that didn't exist. But this show, I definitely would highly recommend to show people, you know, what's a show that I should watch to get into Lucha Libre and CMLL. Here you go. But that is going to be it for the review portion. I don't have a lot of noticia slides except Agent Lo-Fi. Thank you for the information. He's got dips, so take care, bud. We will see you next week. And it's thanks to him that, you know, October, we are getting the Women's Grand Prix at the end of the month. And on Informa, about an hour or two ago, they announced the full lineup for both Team Mexico and the Team World. So I will spend my noticia time talking about that. And then I want to give some props to Hechicero and Máscara Dorada afterwards because they ate in Toronto this past weekend, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But as far as the women's Grand Prix representing Team Mexico, we have Persephone. I'm watching the little slideshow. Lena, the Persephone, Olympia, Skadi, which we love, Reina Isis, so I'm excited, Zuxis, which makes me super excited, and India Su, and of course Juvia and La Jarochita. So those are our Team Mexico girls. So I was like, damn, that's a stacked cast right there. I'm not even gonna lie. Like Reina, Zuxis, on the same team. I was like, girl. So then On Team World, of course, we are getting girls from all the different working promotions for CMLL. So, of course, from the UK and representing Rev Pro, we're getting Jonah Robbie. Oh, no, not Jonah Robbie. We're getting Kanji, who I'm super excited for. I love Kanji so damn much. Me and Andrew get the pleasure of watching her in Progress Wrestling. She is so good. Will, I think you're going to love her when you see her. But from the UK, Kanji, from Cuba and Ring of Honor, we have Diamante, so it makes me excited. Representing MLW in Japan is their MLW Women's Featherweight Champion, Shoko Nakajima. So we're getting some more Japanese girls down here, which, you know, we loved from last year. Also representing Japan and Stardom, we're getting Hazuki. So we're getting the Stardom girls, which is really fun. Also representing Stardom and Japan is Koguma, which makes me super excited to see her here. Representing the United States in AEW is Sky Blue. And also representing the United States and AEW is Julia Hart. And rounding out Team World, representing AEW and hailing from Austria is the Toxic Spider herself, Tekla. This is going to be a fun Grand Prix, especially if y'all aren't too familiar with either side of the teams, whether you're unfamiliar with the CMLL Team Mexico or if you're unfamiliar with Team World. We're about to eat, y'all. This is going to be fun. So I want to close out before, you know, our normal outro bits. I have to give hella props to Echiseto and to Mascara because they pulled double duty over the weekend. Not only were they in Mexico for CMLL Aniversario, but then those two probably took a red eye to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, because they were a part of the AEW All Out Toronto pay-per-view on Saturday. Echiseto teamed up with our favorite and, you know, possibly a baby daddy of mine, Josh Alexander, in a fatal four-way ladder match for the tag team titles, which was crazy. Ladders were thrown, people fell off ladders, there was like spots, it was crazy. But when I tell you, Máscara Dorada was part of my favorite match that whole entire weekend at All Out Toronto. The triple threat between him, Kazuchika Okada, and Konosuke Takeshita for the AEW Unified Championship. Máscara Dorada showed up and showed out. And then someone reminded me, like, did you know he was 23? I'm like, how the fuck is this kid 23 and he's already this amazing in the ring? I'm like, I am 32 years old, y'all. I was just like, what have I done wrong with my life? But no, honestly, the rocket is strapped to this kid. The fact that he is 23 years old is nuts. I highly recommend it. If you can find a way to do so, please go watch those two matches with our CMLL boys because they were so good and fantastic. But yeah, it's all crazy. But yeah, that's going to be it for CMLL tonight. And you know what? We still got a lot of stuff going on. So let's take a sneak peek, shall we? So, of course, we are halfway through the week, but we still had a fantastic time and we still got a whole bunch of stuff coming up this week. Tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific, the Mystery Wrestling Boys, so that is myself, JVL, Jesse, and our newest co-host, Benny. Get your comedic chops ready, y'all, because we are about to go into our favorite comedic wrestling promotion out there. And let me tell you, Wrestling 18 had it all. It had a Boy Scout in short shorts. It had baby oil. It had a cocaine bear. It was out of control. It was nuts. It was so fun. And we're going to break it all down tomorrow evening. Then on Friday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, you know, it's been a rough go for TNA, but you know what? You know, hell or high water, the TNA crew will get together. We'll probably talk a lot of shit about TNA. But honestly, I'm going to have a good time with it. We will be doing the go home show for TNA, as well as making our predictions for Victory Road, which is happening this weekend. And then we wrap up the week on Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific with our WWE review. And then I will be here at 6 p.m. Pacific to do a live watch along for MLW's Fury Road, which is going to lead us into MLW's next big show happening next weekend of MLW Slaughterhouse. It's getting kind of crazy. So yeah, but also I would like to thank you for being here this evening because it is more fun to talk wrestling with my familia, if you will. And from us too, as well as the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll see you tomorrow for Mystery Wrestling 18. But until then, adios. And until next time, Peace.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.